Have you ever encountered a frustrating issue with UIAlertController in your iOS development? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into a common problem. Why does UIAlertController create a retain cycle with self? I totally get it. It can be really annoying when your code doesn't behave as expected, especially when it leads to retain cycles. This is a common pitfall for many developers, and it can be tricky to navigate. Let's look at the specific question at hand. One user asked, why does UIAlertController create a retain cycle with self? They understand the cycle, but are curious why UIAlertController doesn't automatically release actions after they are executed. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So what exactly is happening here? When you create an alert with UIAlertController, it retains itself, and the actions retain self as well. This creates a cycle that can lead to memory leaks if not handled properly. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a simple solution to avoid this retain cycle and keep your code clean. To address the retain cycle issue with UIAlertController, the user should first understand the importance of using a weak reference to self in the action handler. Next, the user should implement the action handler using the weak reference. This ensures that self is not strongly retained by the UIAlert action. Now, the user might wonder why UIAlertController does not automatically nil out the actions after one has been selected. This is a design choice made by Apple. Lastly, the user should remember that while this behavior requires careful handling of self, it allows for more flexibility in presenting alerts with multiple actions. Fun fact, did you know that memory management in Objective-C can feel like a game of chess? You have to think several moves ahead to avoid pitfalls like retain cycles. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. This user suggests that the retain cycle issue can be resolved by using a weak reference to self. They recommend changing the block code from calling self directly to using weak self instead. To implement this, you can declare weak self before creating the action, like this. Weak, your view controller class, tar weak self equals self. Now let's dive into a different answer from another user. This user suggests using a weak reference to avoid the retain cycle. By declaring a weak reference to self, the retain count is not increased, preventing the cycle from occurring. This way, when the action is triggered, it can safely call the method without retaining self. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always remember to use weak references, enclosures, or blocks to prevent retain cycles. This small habit can save you a lot of headaches down the line. And there you have it. By using weak references, you can avoid retain cycles with UIAlertController. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks on iOS development.